Hey there, this is Wythe Marshall from the Stillfleet Studio. We put together a little podcast called Why We Roll, and now we're very proud to be part of the network Podderation. So if you're listening to one of Podderation's other great shows, and you're interested in TTRPGs specifically, that's tabletop role-playing games, you might be interested in our show. Why We Roll is all about how you make TTRPGs, what makes them fun, different kinds of stories you can tell with TTRPGs, and even the business, so the practical advice side. So if any of that sounds appealing, whether you're a GM, you want to design your homebrew game, or you're interested in getting in the industry, why don't you head over to Why We Roll, check us out. We really, really appreciate it, and keep making awesome stuff.
Welcome to Board Gamers Anonymous, the podcast where everyone's welcome at the table, but of course, as always, no one knows whose turn it is. This is Chris.
Hey, and this is Anthony.
And this is episode 574, Anthony's final top 100, updated with some additional stats. We like to thank all the Patreon backers for helping us bring you a brand new episode, but especially the new Patreon backers, Mike and Explorer. Thanks, my friends. You rock. All right, everyone, welcome back to the episode, and welcome back to Board Gamers Anonymous, where we talk about all the greatest and latest in tabletop gaming. And for this episode, the penultimate episode, Anthony's final top 100 games of all time.
Crazy. I know, like, we were putting the episode title together, and I was like, that sounds so final.
It does sound final.
Yeah.
Next week is actually the final.
It is. Yeah, we talked about this. I'll be wrapping up my run here, at least the consistent weekly run. And next week will be my last episode. So I reached out to some people. Some people reached out to me. And the thought is, everybody was very kind. So thank you so much if you did reach out. I appreciate it. Obviously, I talked about this a few weeks ago. There's been a lot going on in life. I'm personally physically okay. I don't know if people are worried, but it's just, sometimes life gets the better of you. So anyways, still love games. We'll always love games. We'll always be part of this podcast. And a big part of this podcast that we did almost every year, and at least every 100 episodes, was our top 100 updates, which is a big project, right? We take a lot of time. 2 years ago, we literally spent 11 episodes on this. So for episode 500. And so I had several people ask, like, well, it'd be nice to know, like, where your final list stands, anything new on there. And I was like, I guess that'd be fun to to run back, see what the final list is, all the stuff that got added in the last 2 years, the kind of final placements, but also like rolling in the stuff that we retired a couple years ago. Just like, here's my list as a statement, and I'm done, at least for now. So yeah, I'm going to run through maybe not the whole list. This won't be like a 3-hour episode, but you'll have, kind of a snapshot. Here are the games that are added to the list. Here's the top 10 at the moment. Here are the games that are on the list that were not on the list in the past, as well as here are the ones that have been on the list the whole time, like for all 11 years that we've had a top 100 list. So it was fun to kind of dig back through those, look at all the old spreadsheets and pull that together, and be excited to share it with y'all. So that's what we're doing. I will say things. Chris will say, "Oh, it'll be fun."
Well, that's my how'd you say it? My catchphrase.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see what you did there. That's a thing. That's fine.
Yeah. Some of these games are good. You like them. Some of them you'll be like, why is that there? And that's fair. That's what we do.
Yes. So I will agree with you enthusiastically or mock you relentlessly.
Exactly.
All right.
That's the core of the show.
There you go, buddy. And again, thanks everyone for the recent support. Again, thank you, Mike and Explorer, for supporting us, backing us. Thanks to David for reaching out on Facebook. Thank you all for your messages and comments via email. If you'd like to reach me, Chris, that's me, at boardgamersanonymous.com. You should know the email address by now. A lot of ways to reach me, but please do reach me. We are certainly looking for more voices at the table as we transition to the next stage as Board Gamers Anonymous. So we would love to welcome you to the table, jump on the mic, share some information, share some questions. We've obviously gotten a lot of questions and thoughts and ideas, so please continue to share those as we continue on with the podcast into the next generation. So thank you, everybody. And please, if you haven't already, hit us up on patreon.com/BGA. And again, as always, all the social media sites, especially the websites, BoardGamersAnonymous.com, BoardGameAcademics.com, a lot of places to reach us. And again, thank you so much. All right, Anthony, with that said, let's get on to the episode. And obviously, there's a lot of little things going on in the world of BGA. I know you want to mention a little Substack of yours.
Yeah. So, I mean, some people ask, like, oh, how can I follow you? What are you doing? And I'm like, well, to be fair, not a whole lot. Like, just staying afloat. But something that I have been doing here for the last few months, and I do update periodically. So if you want to kind of stay abreast of what I'm publishing, as I do, is check me out on Substack. So I have a Substack. It's called Draft in Progress. It's anthonychatfield.substack.com. So I'd love for you to subscribe. Certainly don't like pay anything for it, but just subscribe. All the stuff right now is free. And I post short stories that I write there. I post games that I'm using in the classroom, and just generally updates on my writing progress. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how frequently I mention it on the podcast, but that's kind of another path of mine is writing. I do a lot of fiction writing. So working on a couple novels right now, as well as a lot of short stories. So that's the goal, is to kind of have a place to share that with people. And if you just want to stay in touch or just keep up with things, that's probably the most likely place that I will post anything online, is over on Substack. So I'm not going to delete all of my accounts, but I certainly won't be updating most of them, as I have not been recently. So it's not new. But Substack's a fun place. It's a great place to kind of connect with, whether you're a writer or not. Just hop in and say hi.
Absolutely. One little kind of announcement we make every year. Board Game Geek is having their annual Golden Geek Awards, and nominations are open. So obviously, if you love a tabletop game that you want to let people know about, it's a great place to kind of go there. Pretty quick and simple if you have a Board Game Geek account, to be able to nominate those games for the Golden Geek Awards. And as always, they have a podcast category. So if you so are enthused to do so, and we would love for you to do so, please go nominate Board Gamers Anonymous. It's fun every year to get those votes in there. And maybe, Anthony, in fact, this is the year.
Yes, do it. Get on it. No, it's cool. And like every year, it's cool to see all the different podcasts that are nominated. So it'd just be awesome to be amongst them.
Absolutely.
And get your games in, too. Like, make sure your voice is heard.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. The voice of the gamers must be heard, must be experienced, to say the very least. Mm-hmm. All right, everyone. So that's what's going on with BGA. Now on to the episode. Anthony, let's roll for preview. And for this week, there's been a lot of stuff that's been happening. Obviously, I guess we have to kind of circle back around one more time. We've talked about this previously, but Brass Pittsburgh is out and on GameFound. And by the time you're listening to this episode, you may have a couple more days/hours if you haven't backed it already. Currently, it's over $5.5 million. So
gross.
They have some money to burn, to say the least. The industry seems strong, at the very least, for some people.
Yeah.
And, we've talked about this a lot. And we're both big fans of Brass Birmingham especially. And I know, Anthony, you backed the original Brass campaign on Kickstarter, I believe. And now this new one, a new version of Brass, based obviously in Pittsburgh, and with their Industrial Revolution here. So why don't you take us through this a little bit? Because clearly you have feelings and emotions about this.
Feelings, are they positive? Let's find out. So yeah, I was excited about this when they announced it. It's a new version of Brass. The last iteration of Brass made it one of my favorite games of all time. So like Lancashire to Birmingham was a tremendous update with like a lot of subtle tweaks and adjustments that made the game really solid. It was also an amazing campaign. If you go back and look at it, you could get both games for $100 deluxeified with the clays. It was an amazing deal, all things considered, but it was also like 8-9 years ago.
Yeah.
So now we're dealing with an entirely different economy, which, you know, we'll get to it. But this version of Brass, though, it takes the system, it brings it stateside. It's taking place in Pittsburgh, late 19th century, early 20th century. So, and that's, you know, fascinating, just having lived in Pittsburgh for many years. That's really cool to see, just that area. And at the same time, it's adjusting and adding a bunch of new things into the system. We have new market locations. You can buy and sell resources, which is a thing you could not do before. They've added oil, so you can prospect for oil, lay pipelines, use that to fuel things. There are crown jewels in your industries as well. So it's layering some new ideas, like a lot more new ideas than we saw in Birmingham, which was exciting at first glance. I don't know that I'm sold on all these new mechanics, having seen like some playthroughs or like some previews of it. But I wasn't super sold on Brass in general, because the original version I played, like the 2007 release, whatever it was, didn't love it. And then Birmingham, I was surprised at how much I loved it. So this could be great. I don't know. What really catches the eye and has caught many eyes, and why it's sitting at like a 6.5 on Board Game Geek right now, is the price.
Yes.
So the Brass Birmingham Collector's Edition, or Pittsburgh Collector's Edition, and really any of the Collector's Editions, because you can buy all three of them now in this campaign, is $125 before shipping. And that's down from the $150 MSRP, right? And, you know, it's synth cards and foil and no glare boards and dual layer boards and like all this fancy whatever nonsense. But at the end of the day, it is a standard size box Euro with some pretty nice pieces that costs more than any of Lacerda's games.
And no iron clays.
And no iron clays. You get cardboard money for $125. Bananas. So there's that. If you want the iron clays, it's an extra $60 if you don't already have them. And maybe they're assuming everybody kind of already has them.
Sure.
I have two of them. I've got the one from Brass, and I've got, like, I bought another one in a separate campaign. But then they're like, we also have iron coins. I'm like, ooh, those are pretty. Those are really nice looking metal coins.
Yes.
How much are they? $100 for 100 metal poker chips. $1 a piece. $1 for a metal chip. So that sucks. So really, if you want what I would consider the fully deluxeified version of this game, it's $225 plus shipping.
Sure.
Right. And that's like, even the Essentials edition, which is like the thin box cardboard only version, which was, I think, was $40 retail for Birmingham when it first came out. It's $80 here. Sure. It's $80. It doesn't have any of the fancy stuff. It's just a game with some cards. So I saw this, and like a lot of things are very expensive. I think the next day the Slay the Spire expansion went up, and it was also like $100. And I ended up backing that because I was like, well, I really like Slay the Spire. There is a lot of content. It's got like 200, 400 cards in the box. It's got miniatures. Fine. I'll pay for that. But this one, I was just like, there's no way. There's no way in hell I'm paying that kind of money.
Sure.
It's so much money. Like, yes, the cards are amazing. They're all foiled and bendy and whatever. And all the pieces are like just so tactile. Like, it's really pretty.
It's beautiful.
It's really fancy. But woof.
You're getting wood tiles, which again is a separate token pack. There's metal and stone pieces. There's 3D whiskey tokens, resin whiskey tokens, which are like little like actual whiskey bottles. So it's interesting because as this industry has grown, right? Obviously, we keep getting more and more towards realistic components, where it becomes more of a simulation than it actually is an abstract representation of something. So it's you wonder sometimes, is there a ceiling, right? Like, and we've had realistic components for many years. It's just this obviously looks like the most realistic kind of components. Even the oil barrels are metal looking little jugs. So yeah, it's a different world now. And I feel I don't have a problem with this, because if you have the money for it, I think you should back it. And I think you should back it at the upper level. I think you should get all the great stuff, because I think you should enjoy the game, because it's a great game and you should enjoy all the components to it. I think the significant downside, and we see this with Magic the Gathering specifically, is you're creating a level where people just can't reach. Mm-hmm. And I do think the downside of that is that when it comes to games, if this was like an object that you put in your house, right? If you wanted a fancy picture of Brass Pittsburgh in your house to hang, awesome. But this is something you need other people to play. And with the heavy games, you need people to own the heavy games so that they can play the heavy games, learn the heavy games, figure out the heavy games. And sometimes when the cost becomes prohibitive for a lot of people out there, then you have less and less people to play it, because they just couldn't afford just to have a copy of it hanging around their house.
Right.
So I think these things are beautiful, wondrous creations. Like way back in the day when I was a kid, they used to have a thing called the Franklin Mint, where it was like these super gorgeous, ridiculous, golden plated versions of like Monopoly and Clue and stuff like that. And they were hilarious. It was silly. It was a silly version of things, but people had good quality copies of Monopoly out there. It's going to hurt people. I think it's going to hurt. I think it hurts the community, because I'm not going to be able to afford this, which again, that's my problem, not yours. But also, like, that means like if someone brings this to a table, I'm just be like, I haven't played this. I don't know how to play this. I don't have a copy of this. Yeah. So I think it would be nicer if there was more of a middle ground. I appreciate the backing levels. I appreciate that you can pick this up. It's a lot, and shipping's a lot now. The world is a kind of a weird place, but I agree. It's kind of hard. It's just harder now, I guess. It's kind of a shame.
I mean, and I should clarify too, because I sound very down on it. I think it looks amazing.
It looks amazing. Yeah,
it's beautiful. I wish I had it.
Yeah, same.
Like, I was really excited about this. It's a game. It's like
Same.
It's one of my favorite games in a place I used to live, a place I know. Like, I don't have to hunt the map for locations because I know where everything is.
Yeah,
that's great. But they even have a chart on here of like, here are what the different versions of Brass Birmingham had. Like, here's the collector's edition this time and why you're paying this much. Here's the deluxe edition you bought 9 years ago. Here's the retail edition. And this time they have a retail edition. Like, give me a deluxe edition. Give me like a middle ground, like you said, like something that's accessible so I can play this game and not feel like I have like the cheap nonsense version, right? But maybe the economies of scale don't work that way. It's fine.
When it comes to Kickstarter, I mean, I think at this game, I don't think this game did not need to come to Kickstarter, or I'm sorry, GameFound in this case. Yeah. So this could have went straight to retail. And I think if it went to retail, it would have been a more reasonable price, even with the deluxe components in it.
Right. Yeah. And honestly, it's the prices. The prices are what the prices are. But like an Essentials edition for $80, this is like Queen Games pricing. Yeah. So it is a little frustrating to see that. I wish many things. I'm hopeful that someone I know in the area backs this and has the money for it, because I do want to play it. I want to try it. But like you said, 14,000 copies have been backed as we're recording this. Maybe they get to 20K. That's still not that many copies in the world. I would love to play the game.
Yeah, and I think that's where we miss out on a community. I think you can make money. This is the quest for more money. But like, Brass is the #1 board game on Board Game Geek. And it could have just came to retail. And even if it came to retail, and even if it was still the same price, this amount of money, at least initially, you could get free shipping from these companies when you bought X number of games, right? Like, technically, if you probably bought this, you could get free shipping. But now you're paying for shipping. So, so I don't know. Like, again, we've praised crowdfunding for a very long time because it's brought games to the industry that normally would never have had a chance. This does not seem like that game. This game would have made all the same amount of money, even if it was retail, for sure.
Yeah, it's the funny thing is, like, even if they couldn't afford to produce this, whatever, the problem I'm having now with the way crowdfunding is being used is it's not bringing games to market that we would never see. Like you said, they could produce this as a regular version of a game, like the kind we would have bought 10 years ago. All we're seeing it used for now is like deluxifying the snot about everything so they can run their margins up and make make more money. And like, that's the cynical view. I know that. It's still cool that it exists and all that extra stuff, but they don't need to have all that extra stuff. It's bloat, it's waste. I don't know. It just feels like extra for extra's sake.
Well, it seems like we talked about this a lot with the industry, and the industry seems to be going through this really strange period where everybody we talk to, publisher wise, is like, we have to shrink our games in order to make it financially feasible to exist as a company, because shipping is obviously a big issue. And they've made, they've done some shrinkflation as far as like the core box used to have eight different characters. Now it has 4, right? And it's relatively, give or take, about the same cost and so forth. So again, you have this weird kind of conversation about the industry having a hard time. And then you have this other side of the industry where the crowdfunding is just like exponentially higher, like on a scale that's nowhere near getting smaller and slimmer and cheaper and stuff like that. So, and yeah, I think I feel bad for the designers here, because obviously they should have all the monies. We were always supportive of designers, publishers making all the monies, but also like, I don't think it's going to get to a lot of games, like you said, right? And again, maybe the industry, the hobby becomes more niche, where like eventually you're only going to be able to afford a couple of big games. And maybe that's your games, right? You have like 3 or 4 big games where they're like, each of them are like $150, $200 each. And that's your thing, like those 4 or 5 games. Because again, when you spend this money on these games, especially for the crowdfunding, like you feel like compelled to play them, all the time, because how else do you make your money back? Because, if you play a $40 or $50 game and like, it's not a great game, you're like, I feel bad about that. But also like, I don't feel like emotionally crushed that I backed it and waited like 3 years to get the game or something like that. So,
Right.
So, but yeah, I guess like you said, Anthony, like the fact that it has a 6.8 on Board Game Geek and the game hasn't even been released yet also is, again, one of those issues where people are kind of like tossing a bunch of 1s and 10s in there. It's just like, why is this a thing?
I don't know why Board Game Geek doesn't stop that. Like, it just lock it until the thing releases, like Rotten Tomatoes does. Like, that's all you have to do. But you get these fights about crowdfunding nonsense. Like,
one other acquisition disorder that we obviously want to kind of bring in is the announcement of The Lord of the Rings, The King's Gambit, which is based on the Grail game, Star Wars, The Queen's Gambit, which is based on the Star Wars prequels, and a game that is amazing and big and just crazy back when games weren't like that. And not many people have it. And it became like this kind of like, has this lore and legend to the whole thing. And then obviously Restoration Games, which is known for kind of bringing games back with like upgraded versions, have decided, along with Space Cowboys, to bring the mechanics from Star Wars The Queen's Gambit to Lords of the Ring. And now, if you don't know anything about The Queen's Gambit, again, don't be surprised, right? It's a Grail game. Very few people have it. It's never been reprinted afterwards. And a lot of people have actually had questions about that I've actually been answering online, because I actually have played it, and it's actually pretty good. Basically, it comes down to this really kind of interesting mechanic where there are 3 battles happening simultaneously. And on your turn, you have to make a decision on which of the 3 battles you are going to participate in order to move your particular goals up. And then your opponent does the same thing. So there's a back and forth on 3 different battlefields. And in the Star Wars Queen's Gambit, you have the space battle, you have the land battle, and then you have the Jedis fighting the Sith. Here, what you're going to have is the Riders of Rohan clash against the hordes of orcs on Pelennor Fields. The brave Gondors fend off the forces of the shadows of Minas Tirith, and Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas maneuver their way through the Hardrim. Sorry, I'm butchering that a little bit. And then you have Frodo and Sam navigate the perilous journeys through Mordor to get to the Fires of Doom. So actually four different. Yeah, so they want one more, man. They turned it up to 11. So Rob Davio is leading the design here. So people are really excited. There are no images other than just like a black box. And certainly this is going to be a thing that makes all the monies when it's eventually crowdfunded.
Yeah, it's nuts. I've had Queen's Gambit like bookmarked on eBay for like it'll send me things like there's a new one for several years, and every time a new one comes in, it's slightly more expensive. I definitely should have bought it 10 years ago when it was like 150, and now it's 500. But so I've never played this. I've always wanted to, and a Lord of the Rings version is a perfect alternate idea. The challenge here, of course, is this is going to be a $400 Kickstarter campaign.
Yes.
So, boo. But it's probably still going to tempt me, which also boo.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And then like one of the first posts here is from David Turczi.
Boy.
He of many solo designs, literally saying like, I own this game. I love it. Can I do a solo mode? Give me a call. And I was like, oh, come on now. It's like, that would just do me in. Like I'd have to pay for it. So it's on my radar for sure. I will certainly keep an eye on it. Let's see how much it costs and how much I can afford at the time.
And again, I think if you want to play a version of this, they did do a slimmed down Star Wars version of this. Am I correct? I think you have this.
Star Wars Risk was released in like 2015, I think, with the new movie. And I played that a bunch. My son really liked it. And it is 3 battlefields. You are managing them. Much, much smaller. Right, and it's Return of the Jedi, not Phantom Menace. So I like it. We still have it. It's a good game. It's super out of print as well, though. Sure. So, but I don't think it costs $500. You could probably find a copy for like $50. And it's solid. Like it for what it is, like a $30 game we bought at Target. It's pretty solid.
All right. Well, that's everything that we're hoping to roll for and get in the future. Now on to roll for review. What do you have for us, Anthony?
All right, so I got a chance to play a couple things. The first of which is a relatively quick one. So there's a new version of Fantasy Realms that came out recently, and we like Fantasy Realms, right?
Yes, we do. A lot.
Yeah. So Fantasy Realms is great. You're building out a hand of cards by pulling stuff from a central tableau and or the deck until the central tableau gets to a certain size, right? And you're trying to build the best combination of cards where each one will score you points based on what else is in your hand. Some of them give you negatives. Some of them give you positives. It's really just trying to build a great combo. And that's great. That game by itself, fantastic. The new Greek Legends edition is it's all Greek legend stuff. So you have gods and heroes and locations and stuff like that. But it also adds this other element of the underworld. So now you have some cards that can be sent to the underworld, which is a side tableau in front of you. And these cards are all worth negative points. However, they count towards your total in your hand. So whereas you typically just have the 8 cards in your hand, now you can have, I think the first time I played, I had like 6 or 7. Maybe it's 6, whatever the cap is. But you have all that from the underworld on the side. And now all of a sudden I have 14 cards that I can combo together. And so if you do that right, and you can like leverage it, then you can have much more complex combos and also have different types of combos in your hands, right? One of the challenges of Fantasy Realms is sometimes you have a really good one, and so that takes up 5 of the 8 cards in your hand, and you're like, I don't really want to swap anything because it'll just lose points. And then the last like 5 turns of the game, you're like, I don't know, I'll draw a card and throw it down. And so now you can pull cards that have the ability to be thrown into the underworld, which is not every card can, but some of them can, and kind of manipulate that, and just adds an extra like gamery level to it that I found pretty fun. It's playing with the gamer group that I sometimes play with, it's a little bit on the lighter end. It was probably a little too much. I think just straight fantasy realms would be fine. So if you're playing with like families or newer gamers, the base game is still solid. However, if you're looking for a little bit more, which I always am, Greek Legends is fun. So I like that one. Fantasy Realms is already a buy. This is also a buy. If you already have Fantasy Realms, it is a separate box. So I don't think it's so amazing you need both. But if you don't have a copy and you want to check it out, Greek Legends is pretty good.
Would you say it's a better version?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say because it's one of those situations where like the original core version of the game is so solid, you don't really need to add things to it. But then when you do, sometimes it works. So I think that's what you get in this case. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I think it just gives you some decisions to make and a little bit more advanced that are not, they're not challenging. They're not like going to hurt you in the way, that you don't like. So it's got kind of the newer Fantasy Realms cartoony artwork too. I know some people don't love that compared to the older artwork, but they're sticking with it. That's the theme.
Well, it's a good game because it's so self-contained and sleek. We play this with a lot of people, so
right, yeah. And we're not usually huge fans of filler games, and that's kind of what this is. It takes 10 to 20 minutes. There's not a lot of teaching to it. You're just like, this is what you're doing. Read your cards and figure it out, and people generally do. Some people get stuck. The iconography sometimes can be confusing, but you just give everybody, pass around the rule book. They can figure it out.
Gotcha.
All right. So that's Fantasy Realms Greek Legends. Very
Solid
good. The other game I got a chance to play is the new edition of Trismegistus. So this was a game that came out back in, I think, 2018 or 2019. Sorry. From Daniel Tascini, and famously, it's one of the T games from Board and Dice. This was before the artwork reset, so it's kind of an ugly game in retrospect. Like, that's comparing it to the new edition, and I liked it at the time. I think I gave it a play, but it famously had terrible rules. Yes. Right? It was very hard to teach, not just because of the rules, but because the way the board was laid out, because the way things flowed. It had a follow system in it. So not only did you have these convoluted rules, but then people could follow your actions based on those rules. And that created confusion and also made the game take forever. Sure. And yet I still really like the puzzle of it. But I never played it again. And like at a certain point after playing it a few times with my group, I'm like, I'm never going to play this again because I don't want to teach it again. So I sold it. But I had a chance to play the new version, which was crowdfunded last year. And this one does a lot of things. So first up, it cleans up all the graphic design. It's much easier to look at now. It kind of separates out the different elements. It makes the dice a little bit clearer. It separates out the symbols a little bit so that you're not going to confuse the symbols as much. So one of the things that the game is based on is you have 3 different colors of dice. There's black, white, and red. And then within those colors, you could have one of 6 different symbols for the different elements. And so at the beginning of every round, you're going to roll all those. You separate out into different pools, and then people are going to draft them and use those to take actions. If you can't keep straight what the different symbols are, people sometimes draft the wrong one, right? I think it was lead and tin or lead and copper. I can't remember exactly which 2 got confused the most, but there was a couple like in the early flow that just frequently caused problems. And also like just the way it looked on your player board wasn't always clear. There was also some funkiness with like the victory point scoring for like end game stuff that wasn't super clear. So just like some general clunkiness here and there, which is fine often in a Euro, but in this particular Euro, because of how everything fed into everything else, and you were upgrading stuff and moving it along a path, it would cause problems, right? the combination of iconography with the poor layout and the bad graphic design and lack of clarity for victory point conditions would mean people would make mistakes and then they would get mad. So, when they were like, we're going to redo it, I'm like, how do you fix all that? Right? How do you make this game less of a mess? And I would say they've generally done a pretty good job. Because again, like I said, it's prettier to look at, better graphic design. It's much easier to see what the elements are. They've separated out the tracks for each of the elements. So when you take certain actions, you move up the track, which can get you points and bonuses. Those are now located with the elements on their own separate boards. So it's very clear where you are with them, which is good. The cards and the kind of action tiles now have like better iconography. So it's clearer what they do. And they've added a few other things to kind of just streamline and simplify decision making. So you now have a battery token, which, because they got rid of the follow system, which some people aren't happy with because it simplifies the game. I think it's good, though. There's very few games in which I think the follow system is a good mechanic because it just makes it much longer, right? Lisboa, it works really well because of the theme of the game. Trismegistus, it did not work really well because it would confuse everybody. So that's my take on that. So now you have a battery, which gives you like free bonus actions, and you can flip it when you need to on your turn. And it kind of acts as a follow action, but without having to interact with other people. They've also added asymmetrical player powers that you draft at the beginning of the game. I don't know what I think about those. They weren't there before. I'll take it or leave it. I don't know. I don't think it's a bad thing, but I also don't think it's adds much. They're not like so powerful or so interesting. Like they're probably going to activate 4 or 5 times throughout the whole game. So if you play it right, I don't know. I didn't find it that it influenced what I was doing very much. And then because they've changed the thematic setting, whereas the old one was like ancient Greece, I think. Now it's like the 19th century, like almost steampunkish. You're like filling out a bookshelf rather than like these little orbs, but it's the same mechanic where you're, whenever you complete a card, if it's a new one, you can shelve a book and get bonuses when you shelve enough books. So ultimately, the flow of the game, you're drafting dice, you take actions with the dice. Those actions can be to get more elements, transform the elements, draft new cards, pick up new artifacts, which give you special actions. And then using that combination of stuff, trying to fulfill these different cards, which are effectively contracts. That's not what they're called, but that's effectively what they are, which give you bonuses, move you up various tracks, and get you victory points. It's a lot of this thing turns into this thing, turns into this thing to fulfill this thing, right? At the end of the day, it's a contract fulfillment euro, which in the new version, I feel like I could see. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, that the mechanics are a little bit easier to see now, but I do think it makes it a lot easier to teach. The game I played, I think everybody generally figured it out a lot faster than I remember the old version of the game. And it was much faster as a game. It's like 2.5 hours, not 4. So I think it's solid. I think it's worth checking out. If you play the original and you were turned off by some of the complexity, check out the new one. If you're just looking for a T game that you missed because it kind of fell under the radar really fast, Trismegistus is here. It's a solid play for me.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, we talked about the original version, episode 246.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
That was quite some time ago, but you could check out that. I remember playing this game. We played it several times. And as you mentioned, what my takeaway was, I really want to like this game. And to their credit, Board and Dice have said they kind of messed up here a bit, to say the least. Because I remember watching videos and going through the rule books, and we were just like perplexed, the bunch of us. And this wasn't a game that was like heavier than something that we've played previously. So it was just like, we should get this. We're smarter than this. And like you said, with all the different actions and follow actions and caveats and things like that, it was a lot of oddities to it, which was sad because it had potential. So I'm glad to see that it came back and cleaned up that mess. And it's actually a better game now. So that's great.
Yeah. I think it's I thought it was weird when they went back to it, but I think it's worth going back to because it was like a good, solid design with a poor production and just like it didn't get the development it needed. Like Tashini designed an interesting game and they just didn't develop it. So it's cool to see it more fully developed. I know some people are upset. It like streamlines a lot of stuff. It makes the game simpler. I just think you kind of have to. It's just the amount of work it would have needed to have to make it accessible at the weight it was at compared to how many people would want to play that. I just don't think it was worth it. I think this makes more sense.
I think I agree with that too, because I think back in the day when this came out, Board and Dice weren't making very colorful fantasy games. They were just making very stapled kind of Euro games in your green and beige kind of motif with just very basic kind of generic kind of stuff. So this was like a revelation for them. And it was just like, this is a little bit hard. This is a little bit odd. And yeah, I will certainly miss the complexity to it, but I understand. I think that they're figuring out their own audience might be on a little bit on the lighter side too.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. With that said, let's get on to our feature review. So our feature review is Anthony Chatfield, the man, the legend, talking about his latest and greatest and his final wrap up for his top 100 games of all time. Technically, this is all time, man. This is it of all time.
All time. I'm never going to play another game.
That's the point. Yeah. You signed the contract when you said of all time. That would be it.
It's like a non-compete clause.
Yeah. That's what happens. You do a podcast, you sign a lot of paperwork, you don't look at it, comes back around to bite you in the end. The usual stuff.
Yeah. That's how we roll. Yes. Yeah, it's funny. Like, again, we've done this list a bunch of times. Let's see, 100, 200, 300, like 5, 6, 7, 8 times, something like that. It's interesting to go back to it and just look at it one last time, at least for the context of the show, and see what's changed over time. I think that's what it was most interesting to look at, is not like what's changed from a year and a half ago, because it's not that many changes. I think I went through, I was checking the list, and there was maybe 8 new games since the last time we did this. So not a tremendous number, but the things that are here now that were not here 11 years ago, which I think, for me at least, as a reflective exercise, is the most interesting part of it. So again, I'm not going to run through the whole list, because a lot of this is stuff that we talked about in great depth, like significant depth. We spent an episode per 10 games a year and a half ago. Go back to episode 490 through 500 if you want to listen to that. But we talk about some of the stuff that was on the list all those years ago, and then stuff that's new this year. So let's talk about the new stuff first, because that stuff obviously wasn't on the list all those years ago. I added a few things in the last few months, and stuff probably you would guess based on me giving it a buy rating on the show, but it's still interesting always to look at these. Lord of the Rings trick-taking game, Fellowship of the Ring, jumped on the list last year at number 95, and I'm, if I continue to update this consistently, I'm pretty sure it would go higher. It replaced The Crew, which had been on my list for many years, because it's basically The Crew but with a story. So that's good. Also, we now have the Two Towers, and then next year I'm assuming Return of the King. So I don't know how those get split up, which one's better. What little I've played of the Two Towers so far, it's just harder, right? You get the story from the Two Towers, obviously. There's more chapters in it. It's a bigger box. But it's also just more difficult because you're not starting at the beginning. So I don't know if that makes it better, but for now, at least, Fellowship of the Ring. And part of that is I can bring it to game night and play with anybody. And if it's people who've never played this type of game, we start at chapter 1. If it's people who've played it before or no trick-taking games, we start at chapter 10. And it's flexible in that regard. So it's really been a good addition that's now in the regular rotation. Number 53 I added this time around is The Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Age. We talked about this during the awards at the end of the year, and this is one that I didn't expect to like, because I didn't like Too Many Bones, and this is just that. But it is significantly refined, like 10 years worth of development refined. So it's just a better game all around. And just honestly, the class and race system and like the character building is so good that even if the gameplay is mediocre in some places, you know, there are parts that are kind of drag a little. That part of the game is just so good. It's so unique. Every time you play, it's very different. So that's up there for me. It's one of those games though that takes a lot of work to set up and play, and probably requires a lot of reading each time. So I don't know how long it would stay here. I'd have to keep playing it. Talked about and this one I think was on the list last time, but just kind of throwing it in here as one that was like added very late in that process is Senkori, the Pride of Mansa Musa. Also IR, the Children of the Sun, which I almost swapped in for this, but then I kind of stuck with this as like the heavier of the trilogy. So this is Fabio Lopiano's kind of Ian O'Toole artwork Osprey Games trilogy of cultural games. And this is the one about building the University of Timbuktu, which is great. So definitely check that one out. SETI came out about 2 months after we finished the list last time. Shot right up there. That was an easy. This is on my top 100 now. So that's at number 32 on the list. And it's a great game, obviously. And it made so much better by the expansion, which came out last year. I can't imagine playing without that expansion now. And it's one of those funny games where, like, I think I even said this in the write-up I put on the website, but Lost Ruins of Arnak, I played it, and then I put it on the top 100 like 2 weeks later when we recorded. It was like number 19, just shot right up. SETI was kind of the same. Like, I played it, and then a couple months later when I was updating the website, I was like, oh, I have to swap this in. This has to be on the list. This is number 32. And it's honestly could potentially be higher with more plays, but you know, here it is already in the top 50. So great game. The one from last year that jumped to the highest, and I think really the only one that like jumped super high from last year, Lord of the Rings Trick Taking, Elder Scrolls, both up there, but this one really like shot right up. Is Star Trek Captain's Chair. So my game of the year last year, re-implementation of Imperium, but with Star Trek, and it's great. Chris, you and I played this at PAX last year, and it's complex, right? It's a heavy game.
It's a lot to mentally juggle. You need to be very awake and focused because there's a lot of iconography and all the cards kind of activate from one time to another. Yeah.
Right. And every captain is very different in how they play. They each have their own decks. And it's not the kind of deck builder where like you have your own deck, but then also you get some other cards. It's like, no, you just have your own deck. It's different cards every captain. Very cool. Yeah. And I'm like still waiting for my pre-order to ship. I don't know what WizKids is doing, expansion. But yeah, all their stuff's running like a year behind. It's crazy. Just got the Mage Knight expansion like last month. It was been a pre-order for like 15 months. So anywho, looking forward to new Star Trek content. I've played this one so many times that I feel like I know all the captains really well now, which is a fun place to be, but I also just want new ones. Give me Kirk. Why don't we have Kirk yet? It's Star Trek. What are we doing? And then the last one here, which again I think kind of snuck on the list in 2024, but kind of shot up further recently, is number 8, Slay the Spire. Ooh. And this became my second most played game last year. So Star Trek Captain's Chair I played a lot. Slay the Spire I played slightly less, but that doesn't mean not very much because I play both of these a lot. And so much so, and I don't think I've talked about this on the show, but Slay the Spire 2, the video game, just it's in early access, which I know they're tweaking the balance and everything. The biggest thing that seems like it's early access is a lot of cards don't have artwork yet. So it's a lot of like hand-drawn nonsense, which is funny, but you know, but and I don't know if they took it from the board game or not, but Slay the Spire, the board game, converted the system into a co-op game, right? So you play simultaneously, you can help each other out. Slay the Spire 2 now has a co-op mode. So, and that's like one of the big pieces they added to the game. Which I know some people said, like, well, why do you need the board game then? I was like, well, it's tactile, it's physical, it's playing at the table, it makes all the numbers smaller, it's more accessible. Although I will say I've played a lot of Slay the Spire too. So it's just it's a good, easy thing to do when I'm sitting there waiting for my daughter to finish her lesson or whatever else my kids are doing. So Slay the Spire 2, check that out. Slay the Spire, the board game, also great, and also not on our preview in the last couple of weeks. However, the Slay the Spire Downfall, the expansion for the board game, is on Kickstarter right now. So it's expensive, but it's really cool. It's got a bunch of new cards. You get to play as the bad guys. Mm-hmm. It's based on the fan expansion. So check that out.
Got a lot of cool miniatures, big miniatures.
Yeah. The first one's like little guys because it's just all the runners. Now it's the big guys because you got all the monsters. Mm-hmm. So yeah, like I said, not a ton of new games on the list, just the 8 there, but all ones that like really stuck with me.
Very cool.
Yeah. So in terms of stuff that was on the first list, this was interesting to me. Only 14 of the 100 have survived all 11 years. And I feel like looking at your list, maybe more on yours have survived that long than mine. Like, I feel like looking at yours, there's definitely a lot more older games there. And it's not a good or a bad thing. It's just, what we play. But I was just like, why? I guess I'm more cult of the new. I don't know.
It's possible. Yeah, I think certain games stick with you or certain other games don't replace it yet. I try to think, like you mentioned on your list, like there's some pretty good games there, and it's hard to see if they have replaced or are better than, right? Like clearly Star Trek Captain's Chair, right, is a better version than, was it Imperium that came out previously. Like that's a better version of that. And the roguelike games obviously are kind of a new trend coming out there, but I think just as far as like Euro games are concerned, I don't think the needle has moved too much. I mean, I think Lacerda has had a dip, and hopefully supposedly he's coming back. So I'm looking forward to playing his two, I guess when it's with the Great Library is coming out.
Great Library this year, yeah.
So I think certainly there are games that could kind of elevate things along the way, but I haven't come across anything over the last year or two off the top of my head. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but that has been like a fundamental shift. I think, as you mentioned, SETI is very good, but I don't think it does anything radically different than other games other than just being kind of epic in its scope. Yeah. So,
I would agree with that. Yeah. I think all the stuff that I put on here that's new is like adaptations of other things.
Yeah. And I think industry wise, we talked about this too, like the industry, because of the shipping costs and a lot of other things that are currently happening, fluctuations in the market, they're trying to play it relatively safe. And everyone's looking for a brand that they can kind of endlessly replicate over and over again. It's not to say that the games aren't good. In fact, they're probably better than their predecessors down the road. But I haven't seen a new version or something as radically different as like Root, for example, or something different. Like even Andromeda's Edge, which is excellent, also is just an iteration of Dwellings of Eldervale. So I'm looking forward to something like, oh, this is a different kind of experience. Or like back in the day, the Legacy games was a new thing. Didn't all work out, but they were certainly a new thing that was out there.
Right.
So, or Castles of Burgundy, like a Euro game that is like going to like change the industry. Like Civolution, I was really hoping from Feld would have been that game that would have been like, and now there's a new thing. Not so much. Or
Civilization. Ugh.
Or even like some of the civilization building games. There's so many great civilization building games out there, but I don't think there's been anything radically wondrous other than re-implementations of the previous ones. So
no, I think it's fair. Yeah, like one of the things I pulled here is games that are updated versions of themselves or other games. Like, so how many games on my list are 2.0s, 3.0s, whatever? Sure. And it's 36. Wow. Right? Like, So I'm like going through this. I'm like, okay, paperback or hardback. But I had paperback 10th anniversary editions. How it got back on my list. Dominant Species Marine, Suburbia Collector's Edition, Castles of Burgundy upgraded, Ultimate Railroads, Captain's Chair, Brass Birmingham, Wormspan, Cat in the Box Deluxe, Endeavor Deep Sea, Sky Mines, Battle of Five Armies, Dune Imperium. Like the list goes on. Like a lot of these games are like, and that's one of the magical things about the board game industry is that you can keep iterating on that design and building a new thing out of it. And it's not like a lot of films do that, sure. But also it makes a lot of people mad when you do. You're like, what does a sequel add? It's just like iterating on the old one. I think like in tabletop games, people don't really get mad about it. They're just like, oh, it's a new version of this. That's cool. Right? Like I can have Caverna on my list at number 55 and still not like Agricola at all.
Yeah, of course. Right?
That's a cool thing about the board game hobby. Is like he tweaked enough stuff that now I like it, and now it's one of my favorite games. Whereas I don't have to like the old one. That's fine. London second edition. I didn't like the first edition of London, but the second edition is number 43 on my list. Eclipse Second Dawn for the Galaxy, number 38. Didn't love the first edition, kind of clunky. Yes. So I think that's really interesting. And the funny thing is, like, there's 36, right? And then I'm looking through the ones that are not, and we have like Spirium, Concordia. Both of those are getting updates this year. Imperial Settlers. I don't have the new version of that on the list, but it is one. It has one, right? We have skimming through. I know there's a couple others, but you know, a lot of these games have been updated, have been changed, or will be in the future. Sure. And that's not a bad thing. And for a while, I always felt like I needed to have both. Like I had all three versions of Terra Mystica on here at some point, and I was like, what am I doing? Just pick my favorite, put that on there, and that's fine. It represents the rest, right? So like this time around, I took Gaia Project off.
Yeah, wow.
And I love Gaia Project, but I like Age of Innovation a little bit better.
True.
So, and Terra Mystica went off last time. So it's I don't think it's a bad thing. I do think it means we get less innovation now because, like you said, people are going for the safe thing. They're going for the easy thing.
Yeah, and certainly we've talked about this so many years ago where Asmodee, I don't know who it was specifically from Asmodee, but somebody came out and was like, as the kind of gravity well that Asmodee was and continues to be as far as pulling in a lot of the smaller companies, they said to us, like, we're going to make less games, and the industry therefore is going to make less games. And they were right. That's what happened. Like prior to Asmodee becoming this gravity well, when they were just a game company, you had all of these other smaller companies that were like always looking, like, again, because they were all small mom pop companies, looking to innovate and to stand out, and all wanted to have like a deck builder, for example. Remember when deck builders were like a dime a dozen? Or even back in the 90s where CCGs were just like a dime a dozen. Like there was a CCG about everything on the planet. And again, like it's kind of silly and weird and dumb and odd, but also it was brilliant, beautiful, and delicious because like you had variations on a theme, and it kind of spurred that innovation where things were different and they felt different, and everyone had a different take on it. So you could have a thing. Now it's just like, this works, let's do 12 versions of the same thing. So,
exactly. Yeah, everybody's looking for their evergreen thing.
Yeah, everybody won't.
They don't want to pay for development, which makes sense. That's what you do. That's what the film industry does too. They're like, we have Marvel, let's make 40 of them, you know? And it's lame for like creativity and exploration, but it's, you know, it's a business. They're trying to make money.
Yes. And they made money back in the day, but certainly the new marketplaces certainly shrunk, and also kind of expanded as far as like the gravitas of, like, as we talked about previously about the, you know, the Game Found campaigns where the games are just gigantic now. So you can't necessarily as a publisher or designer just be like, I'm going to release this kind of light Euro game. It's like $30 and like, it's going to have a board and all this stuff. It's like, no, it's either got to be like a cheap card game at like $15 or it has to be $90. Just there's no in between anymore, people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
the basic all cardboard version of Brass is now $80. Like,
yeah.
What are we doing? That was a $30 game.
Yeah, it's kind of a thing. So yeah. No, I appreciate your evolution progression as far as that's concerned. I wish BGG would do that because again, having those duplicate kind of, how would you say it, like settings of like TI4, TI3, TI2, TI1. It's just like, no, there's just one. There's TI4 currently. It's a new iteration of the same game. Like technically the other ones are different. I get it. Like you can have a favorite, but also it's still the same game. So,
and we've had enough expansions of TI4 now that we're going to get a TI5 that's going to roll it all in, and that'll be fine. And everybody will be fine with it. I hope they're fine with it. I don't know. All right, so just real quick, I wanted to run through, because I mentioned this, games that were on the first list and have been there the whole time. So it's a small list. We'll run through these. At the top, we have 85 paperback.
Okay, surprising.
Now, this one's tricky because it did come off the list for a little while.
It was a hardback?
It went to hardback, yeah. And I switched it back to paperback with the 10th anniversary edition because they changed a lot of things. They add a lot of things. The solo mode's much better. And I just wasn't playing hardback. So paperback's easier to play with family, for sure. Dominant Species at 84.
Yes.
So we've got Marine on there too, but like Dominant Species, just an all-timer.
Yes.
So it's been on there the whole time. Suburbia. Now, I have the collector's edition on here now, but it doesn't change the gameplay at all. It just has a bunch more junk in the box. So still a great city builder game. Played it recently with you. Had a blast. Got to play with the tower. It was fun. Castles of Burgundy. Also got a big stupid box now, but same game. Right. Same core game. Been there the whole time. And it's stayed way up there too. It's number 15 for me. So it's been in that top 20 for over a decade. So Voyages of Marco Polo. It's currently number 6. I think when I first had it on the list, it was in the 20s, but during COVID in particular, I played it online like 100 times, and it's like, I love this game. Like I always liked it. I always loved it, and now I really love it.
The Super Deluxe Edition?
If they change the box, I really hate the cover.
Okay. Gotcha.
That black and white cover where they're like ending up in Japan. I'm like, what is this? This is nonsense.
Gotcha.
Let's see. Ultimate Railroads.
Sure.
Ultimate Railroads. It was Russian Railroads for the longest time, but you can't buy that anymore. So now it's Ultimate Railroads on the list because that's the one that's actually for sale. Even though it's nonsense and they shouldn't have done it, and it's over $100 now for. You should just be able to buy the base game.
Should.
But it's stupid. At the Gates of Loyang.
Oh yeah.
Has been clinging to the very top of my list for like 5 years now. It's number 98. Yeah. It's the most unique Rosenberg game I think I have on the list.
Getting a new edition too.
We talked. Yeah. Is it really? Oh man, that's what I might go for because I don't like this edition. It's so sparse. You know, the box is half empty. It's just a big.
That was crazy.
Yeah, like there's not much to the game. Though. It's a bunch of cards and then the vegetable meeples, but. You know, it'd just be good to have more. Spirium.
Aw, Spirium.
Spirium. It's back on the list. It's no longer retired.
Is it going to get kicked off when the new version comes out?
I don't know.
The generic fantasy Spirium.
I'm not loving the theme of that, and it seems like they're going to tweak some mechanics. So if they do the thing we always say they should do, and like offer variability for the third
extra cards at the end,
yeah, that would be good because as it is right now, it's really hard to teach the game because I know what all the cards are and nobody else does, so I can plan for it even if I'm not trying to. But if they can throw some variety in there, that'd be great. Zolkin, the Mayan calendar, still on the list.
Sure.
Very unique, very pretty. Someday I'll paint that wheel.
And that's a game, oddly enough, they have not done a deluxe version of that game.
No, we only ever got one expansion and they never came back to it. It's just been in print the whole time. So, which is good. It's a good game.
Yeah.
Like it's a weird one too. Like every now and then someone will bring it up. They're like, oh, I wish I could learn that. I'm like, I have it. I will teach you.
Yeah.
I feel like that's happened like 4 times. And I was like, every time I'm like, oh, cool. I'm glad I taught this. This is fun.
That's true.
Concordia.
Sure.
I didn't realize this was on my first list. In my head, I came to it late, but apparently not.
Great game.
I think maybe it's just you were talking about it for a while before I played it, but that was early on.
And that's getting every deluxe edition.
Yeah, with all the AI nonsense. Can't do the Awakened Realms Euro game re-releases. It's too much. Blood Rage. So this was, I think 2015 is the first time we did a full list. So that was the year it came out. Mm-hmm. Great game. Nations, one of my favorite Civ building games. I think we talked about this on our Civilization episode, and not all of us agreed on this, but I still love it.
Sure.
So still
somebody has to.
Yeah. Oh, come on. Imperial Settlers, I still have the memories of like playing this with you guys for the podcast, and all three of you being like, and I'm like, this is amazing.
Watch in real time as Anthony discovers a lifestyle game, and the rest of us like, Yeah.
I know, and I think it was the first time we reviewed a game where I was like upset that you guys all didn't like it. And you didn't even hate it. You were just like, it's fine.
I didn't
it's a dodge.
dislike it. It was just like, sure. And it gets better with the expansions and the re-implementations and such.
Right. It's also not great with 4 players. It takes forever. So, like, it was not the right way to play it. But fair. Totally fair. And then up here at number 2, you'll all be surprised to know. And I put it back on the list, but it did not jump back up to number 1, because guess what? My number 1 is staying where it is. War of the Rings 2nd edition.
Shocker. Didn't see that coming.
No, so I took this off when we retired our Hall of Fame, and I thought about it, and I was like, oh yeah, of course it goes back to number 1. I'm like, actually, I don't really play this very much. By its nature, it's hard to get to the table. I have spent hundreds of dollars on it, and I have a big collector's edition coming sometime the next month or two. But it's still a game that's like, it's like a showpiece. It's a centerpiece. It is like one of my favorite games. If somebody said they want to play it, I'll bring it out. We'll play it 100%. But Voidfall hits the table every couple months. I keep finding new stuff to dig into. It's such a, and like, I'm fascinated by the world, which doesn't usually happen to me in this type of game. I just don't care typically. But they've built something that I find fascinating and interesting. And obviously War of the Rings still has that as well, but that's Tolkien doing the heavy lifting. That's not the game. So the game is just reflecting that, whereas Voidfall is building that. And I think that's really cool. So War of the Ring has been on the list ever since that first one, except for last year when we retired it. And it still is, but it's down a spot.
Cool.
Yeah, so there you have it, folks. A kind of a rundown, some statistics, some overviews of my list as it currently stands. You can check it out on the website, BoardGamersAnonymous.com. It's all updated on there.
Excellent. All right, everyone. Until next time, this is Chris.
And this is Anthony.
And we'll save you all a seat at the table. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Every hero strikes out on their adventure for a different reason.
To prove myself worthy of my mother's praise.
To write my own story and discover who I really am.
To prove to my family that I am more than they believe me to be.
To revive the god that has chosen me.
But when the fragile balance of the world is in jeopardy, and sinister forces move in the darkness, heroes will be tested, pushed to their limits and beyond. And it will be left to them to determine if they are up to the task. There is a darkness rising. Will they be able to overcome the challenges and meet this evil head-on?
For my god.
For my story.
For my freedom.
For the world.
To restore the balance. Modified Role Season 2, The Chronicles of Erin, a D&D 5e actual play podcast. New season, new characters, new story. Find us on all the usual podcasting apps or at modifiedrole.com.